So, why is your ancestry so much more than just a label? Well, we all use these labels, right, to describe where we're from. But what if I told you that sometimes those labels are hiding a much deeper and way more vital story that's written right into our DNA? I mean, let's put this into a real world scenario. Imagine you're at the doctor's office filling out those forms and you check a box, maybe Hispanic. But is that one word, that single label, really telling the whole story? Is it enough information for your doctor to give you the absolute best care possible? Well, it turns out the answer is a big, resounding no. Some absolutely groundbreaking research is showing us that using a single, broad label like Hispanic can actually hide huge genetic differences. And we're not just talking about interesting trivia here. We're talking about differences that can have very real life or death consequences. Okay, so let's break this down. The core problem, really, is this whole idea of using just one label to try and represent many, many different peoples. You can kind of see the issue right here. On one side, you have this simplified view, the way medicine often looks at an entire population as just one solid, uniform block. But then you look at the real picture. It's not a block at all, is it? It's this incredible, complex mosaic of all these deeply diverse ancestries. And listen, this isn't just some academic debate. This is happening right now. The actual clinical guidelines, the rule book that doctors follow, they often treat all Hispanic and Latino people as if they're genetically the same. And that approach, well, it just completely misses the boat on all this crucial diversity. The crazy thing is, we know that being more specific works. Take this, for example. We advise people of Ashkenazi Jewish descent to get tested for specific breast cancer genes, BRCA1 and 2. Why? Because we know that certain harmful variations are just more common in that specific group. That's what precision medicine is all about. So it begs the question, right? Why aren't we applying the same level of detail to other populations? So how do we get that level of detail? Where does this new insight come from? Well, it comes from this absolutely massive effort to map the DNA of one of the most diverse countries in the Americas, Mexico. And this brings us to the hero of our story, the Mexican Biobank, or MXB for short. This thing is an absolute game changer. It's a huge new genetic resource that for the very first time gives us an unbelievably detailed map of the entire genetic landscape of Mexico. And when I say huge, I mean huge. We're talking genetic data from more than 6,000 people. And they didn't just stick to the big cities. They sampled from both urban and rural areas in every single one of Mexico's 32 states. That's what makes this so powerful. It's so incredibly thorough. So, what did they find when they did this deep dive into all that DNA? Well, it turns out there are basically two distinct layers of ancestry that really shape the genetic makeup of the country. And this is where it gets really cool. Okay, so layer one. This is kind of the big picture. It shows us that the mix of ancestries, we're talking Indigenous American, European, and African, it's not the same everywhere. Not at all. As you move across the country, you see this pattern. Generally more Indigenous ancestry in the south and more European ancestry up in the north. But hold on, because here's where it gets really fascinating. That's just the first layer. The second layer is the diversity inside that Indigenous American ancestry. We're talking about the distinct genetic signatures from different pre-Columbian groups, like the Maya in the Yucatan, or the Zapotec, or the Nahua, and that creates these incredibly deep regional differences. And this leads to a conclusion that is just staggering. Get this. The study found that the genetic variation between different indigenous groups inside Mexico can be as large as, or even larger than, the genetic variation we see between people from different continents. Like between someone from Europe and someone from East Asia. Just let that sink in for a second. The diversity within one country is as vast as the diversity between continents. Okay, that's all super interesting science, right? But what does it actually mean for your health, for your medicine? This is where it stops being abstract and gets very, very personal. So let's look at 3 really powerful examples that show why this matters so much. We're going to talk about fentanyl dosing, the side effects of a common drug called a statin, and even a treatable disorder in newborn babies. All right, first up, fentanyl. So there's this specific genetic variant that makes some people process or metabolize the drug much more slowly than others. And what this research shows is that this variant is way more common in southern Mexico. Now, think about that. If you have this variant, a standard dose could be way too strong, even dangerous. This is absolutely critical information for making pain management safer, especially for something like childbirth. Okay, next, let's talk about statins, those common cholesterol drugs. And this is a real wow moment. There's a particular version of a gene, an allele, that jacks up the risk for a really nasty side effect, a painful muscle condition called myopathy. Now look at this. In European populations, about 16% of people have it. But in people with indigenous ancestry from the Yucatan Peninsula, it's 17%. That's higher than the entire European continental group. It just shows you how useless a broad label can be. And for our third example, this one has a huge impact on public health. This map is showing a genetic variant that causes a disorder in newborns. It's called biotinidase deficiency, but the important thing is it's totally treatable. But just look at how concentrated that variant is in the Yucatan Peninsula, where there's a lot of Mayan ancestry. Knowing this, it's a no-brainer, right? You can create targeted screening programs for newborns right in that area, catch it early, and prevent serious neurological damage with just a simple supplement. So when you put all this together, what's the big takeaway? It's that with this kind of detailed understanding, we can finally start to build a smarter, a more precise, and frankly, a more fair and equitable kind of medicine for everybody. And what's really amazing is the researchers didn't just drop this study and walk away. They actually built a solution. It's called MexVar, and it's a free online tool that anyone can use. It lets doctors and scientists dive into all this data, look up specific genes, and see exactly how common they are in different parts of Mexico. It's literally turning all this data into real life-saving action. In the end, this isn't just a story about Mexico. It's so much bigger than that. It's a wake-up call. It's a powerful argument for why we have to move beyond these simple, outdated labels in medicine and start appreciating the incredible, complex genetic diversity that exists within all populations, all over the globe. The entire story of Mexico's people, all their history, their migrations, it's all written right there in their DNA. And when you see that, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other stories, what other crucial life-saving secrets are hiding in the DNA of other populations, just waiting to be discovered, if only we take the time to look a little closer.